This match is incredibly stupid. If you clicked on this video expecting to see some top-level replay or some, ooh, epic moves, big brain, 2000 IQ level play, this replay is not for you, okay? This match is stupid. I'm just gonna say this right away. It's the dumbest match I've ever played. However, if you actually want to see an aircraft carrier being built in a league match, then you're in luck. Because that's the one cool thing about this match. I built a carrier, and it actually sort of, kind of worked out a little bit. That's all there is to this match. So yeah, this is another Advanced Wars by way of replay commentary. Aside from the aircraft carrier, this was probably the dumbest match I've ever played. This is a league match. It's a high funds league match. That is basically a standard game of Advanced Wars, but every property is worth 2,000 income as opposed to 1,000. So you have a lot more money to play around with, which is the only reason I was able to build an aircraft carrier. But even when you have a lot of funds, carriers just don't see a lot of play because they're incredibly bad units. I'll talk more about it when we actually see it, I guess. So yeah, I'm playing a league match here. It's a tier 2 league match. So I'm playing Drake against my opponent, who is Max. I think Drake is a pretty good, solid pick in tier 2. He obviously doesn't have any strong day-to-day bonuses, aside from better naval units, which of course will factor in a little bit in this match. But I will say, though, that he is buffed on Advanced Wars by Web. He's one of the few COs who is actually buffed. His naval units have 25% extra defense instead of plus 10%, which they had in Advanced Wars 2. And his air units also only have minus 20% firepower as opposed to the minus 30% they have in Advanced Wars 2. So Drake is just straight up buffed on this side. He's one of the few COs who is actually just altered. I do believe the other one is Sturm. I think everyone else is most of the same, but Drake and Sturm are changed. I might be wrong on this, but... So, yeah, Drake's ships are very hard to kill. 25% defense is a lot. It's almost as much as Combi gets for no additional price on the naval units themselves. And of course he gets that +1 extra movement, which normally is not that big a deal, but it does help black boats a lot. On this map you will actually see black boats quite a bit. Now I'm up against Max, who's also a tier 2 CO. And while Max has a stronger day-to-day bonus than Drake, I mean 20% firepower on his direct units is incredibly good. I will say that Drake definitely has the better power. Don't get me wrong, Max Blast can be absolutely terrifying when popped right, but that Typhoon dealing 2 HP of damage to every single unit on the map, especially in a high funds match, is incredibly strong. And the reason why Typhoon is more powerful in a high funds match is because it'll just be popped a lot more often. There's a lot more money on both sides, so the power charges up quicker. And Typhoon, by default, it takes away 20% of the opponent army's value. So if you get to pop Typhoon every other turn, which you might do in a very high intense match with a lot of units dying, you're basically reducing the opponent's army by 20% every other turn. Now, of course, at some point the diminishing returns will kick in and the Typhoon will start becoming more and more expensive because every time you pop your powers in Advanced Wars, they get 20% more expensive. However, in the mid-game of a high funds match like this, Typhoon will be quite devastating. So let's take a look at the map itself. It's called Crystal Tears. It is one of the official league maps. Crystal Tears is an interesting map. It's not one of my favorites. Now you will notice that while there are harbors and a lot of water on this map, the shoals kind of prevent any units aside from landers and black boats from actually moving out. So there's a lot of potential for black boat play here, but battleships and carriers will actually be stuck on the ports when built. So you might ask yourself, why did I build a carrier? Well, you'll find out. And I told you this match was stupid. So on this map, I do find that after a while, an HQ rush becomes almost inevitable because the HQs are so far off to the sides and they're very easy to attack. They're very open, they're very exposed. You got roads on one side of them. So player 1 will usually go for player 2's HQ and player 2 will go for player 1's HQ very fast. There'll usually be like a clash in the middle, and then as soon as the clash dissipates, it becomes an HQ rush. Like every single one of the matches I played on this map has become an HQ rush sooner or later. Now, some people may enjoy that, other people may hate it. I'm a little bit neutral on it. I think that it can sometimes be fun, but it is a bit annoying when a really good match just devolves into like a rush on either side. I will also say there's a lot of terrain here. Obviously, there's an airport that's a little bit off the beaten path, but it's pretty close to the center, so air units are actually pretty strong on this map. And that is a problem for Drake, because his air units get 20% less firepower, which is quite significant. I mean, his bombers can still do something. His fighters can still shoot down enemy bombers, but his battlecopters in particular do struggle to do a lot of damage to vehicles and infantry. You do feel that 20% reduction quite a bit, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't build air units as a Drake. You should still build them if they're viable. Anyway, without further ado, let's just jump into this match. So, as you can see, the second player has an extra infantry, and also starts out with a captured city close to my location. However, because I also start out with an infantry, I can capture that city immediately. So that basically means 1,000 extra money for player 2, and an extra infantry. So that's a pretty significant second turn advantage. I don't really know if I agree with this. I think having just an additional infantry is already pretty strong, but some maps do seem to favor this. I don't really know why. So he goes for the base immediately. Because he has an extra infantry here, he gets this base one turn before I get mine. There's a neutral base, of course, here that we can capture, leaving us with 3 bases in total, in addition to 1 airport and 1 harbor. I also forgot to mention that there are comm towers in the center, but in my opinion, they usually aren't fought over that much. So my turn rolls in. I continue to cap. There's a lot of properties you got to cap around your vicinity, and in a high funds match, capturing those early game properties is incredibly important. Like, incredibly important. Every turn that you forgo a property just loses you so much money, so it's actually incredibly important to just cap immediately. So, and you can see my opponent also does the same thing. So my turn rolls in, and yeah, I just go for these properties right here. I now control all 3 of my bases, which means I can build infantry, 3 infantry per turn. So in a match such as this, as you can see that both players will usually build a lot of infantry until one player chickens out and builds another unit. So here you can see both of us are just kind of going for the properties. Both of us are still just building infantry. I remember thinking, okay, this guy wants the high eco match, sure. I decided that I was just going to build infantry until he built infantry, or until it didn't make sense to build any more infantry. So as you can see, we both are completely similar in our mindset right here. Both players are just booming up, as I like to call it. I mean, that's an expression you hear a lot. If you watch RTS games like Age of Empires, you'll hear the expression booming up, which means you're just focusing on your economy. This is the equivalent of 2 players just producing villagers and nothing else. So we're both just booming up here, just building infantry and capping properties. Neither of us are building tanks or recons or anything like that. We're just letting each other build up our economies, setting up for a very high economy match. So this is going to lead to a lot of income for both players. As you can see, we're both completely tied, 16,000 each. So we're both equally, we're capturing equally well, pretty much. So yeah, nothing much to commentate on here. We're pretty much just capturing our properties. I told you this was a very stupid match. No, like, high-brain players here. I do build a transport copter. This is something Drake players should do, because even though Drake has weak air units, your transports aren't affected by this. I mean, he only gets minus 20% firepower, so his transports are completely fine. So in a high-funds matchup like this, you definitely want a lot of transports, because you have so much money to play around with, and I feel like having 1 or 2 transports, you can definitely afford that a lot more when you got more money, because you're not going to be as behind. 5,000 gold isn't as much considering your total pool of money compared to a regular matchup where 5,000 can be quite a bit. It can set you back a tank, but in a match like this, I mean, look at all the money we have stockpiled, like 41,000 to 35,000. I can definitely afford a few transports. It's not really going to cost me the match, so to say. So yeah, we're both just continuing to boom up. Not a single non-infantry, non-transport unit has been deployed thus yet. Let's see if he decides to break that. Nope, he just builds infantry and transport copters himself. Told you this was a stupid match. So yeah, I'm just gonna go, okay, you're booming up, I'm booming up. Putting my transport copter here in range of my infantry, getting ready to transport it into the middle. And yeah, and here I build my first black boat. So here you can see the black boat has a significant movement range advantage. +1 movement on black boats is pretty nice. Now this black boat isn't really going to help me capture more properties because both players are pretty much going to take their properties and that's going to be it. However, this black boat will allow me to ferry infantry towards the middle, and it will also allow me to repair units. So getting a couple of black boats out here as Drake, I think, is definitely worth it. Now, black boats are actually pretty frail. They can be taken out by tanks, but keep in mind, Drake gets that 25% defense, so his black boats are a lot harder to kill. Of course, Max does have the 20% extra firepower, but it evens out that advantage and even adds a little bit of defense on top of it. So definitely on this map, you want a lot of black boats as Drake. They're pretty nice, actually. Like, the ability to repair 1 HP can be pretty good. And here I decide to break the stalemate. I'm like, okay, time for Neo-Tanks. So I built 2 Neo-Tanks. I'm like, okay, I'm actually done booming up here. Building more infantry at this point isn't really going to do much for me. I have most of the properties that I want to have anyway. So I've decided, okay, we're going to break the... So here he does something very strange. I don't really know what he's doing here. So I don't know if this is a replay bug, but he doesn't... I can't see him. He just moves his transport. I don't really know why he didn't load an infantry into it. I told you this was a stupid match. So yeah, I don't really know what he was doing here. He just kind of moves the transport out, and he doesn't even transport an infantry. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, he's moving out, and he responds building 2 Neo-Tanks as well, and a bomber. And this was pretty predictable. You know, I do think that air units are pretty damn strong on this map, because it's very open. There's some water they can hide behind to avoid anti-airs. So when I saw this bomber, I was like, okay, that's kind of bad, actually. And sure, I can build a fighter in response to the bomber. It has minus 20% firepower, which means it doesn't one-shot, but it reduces the bomber to 2 HP, which is still worth it. So you definitely should build a fighter as Drake to counter a bomber. I still think they work, but there's another response you can do. I think you guys know what I have in mind. I told you this match was incredibly stupid. So I start to cap here, and I don't really know why I thought this would work. I mean, he has so many infantry in range to interrupt this. I used the black boat to get my infantry forward a little bit, and there we go. I built a carrier. Oh, what a stupid match. So I know that this carrier cannot move from the harbor, which I was a little bit annoyed when I like initially discovered this. I was like, okay, I'm not going to be able to build anything else out of this harbor now. But if you look at this carrier right now, it is locking down the entire midsection of the map, essentially creating a no-fly zone for his aircraft. Now, is it worth it to spend... What is a carrier even worth? 32,000, I think? It's ridiculous. Is it worth it to spend 32,000 to create a no-fly zone? I kind of wanted to test if it would be worth it, because this bomber is very scary. And now this bomber can essentially not fly within the red zone without getting shot down. Aircraft carriers do one-shot bombers. So I remember thinking to myself, okay, this could maybe potentially work. It was a big gamble, because of course he could just ignore the field, but there's a lot of properties within this range that is, you know, at some point he does need to worry about them. So yeah, I told you this was a stupid match, but, you know, the aircraft carrier is built. Let's see if it actually works or not. So, yeah, the capture battle continues. Right now I'm 4,000 ahead of him, so I'm a little bit better at capping, but no, never mind. He has 2 properties that he's capping this turn, so we are actually both completely tied in terms of income. So he's doing well in terms of the capture game. His Neo-Tanks are rolling out. Here he moves in, he interrupts my captures, as kind of predictable. I don't really know why I thought this would be a good idea. And he moves his bomber in, and I was like, oh, okay, what is he gonna do here? So he moves it at the edge of my carrier range. Obviously can't move it any further, but I do see a very big weakness with the carrier right now. That's the fact that the bomber can probably go within minimum range. Now, one thing I'm actually very curious about, I actually don't know how much damage a Neo-Tank would do to a carrier if it's on a port. Let's find out. We have a wonderful damage calculator here. So let's select this, and let's select the aircraft carrier. So it looks like the Neo-Tank will do 8 to 12% damage, so that's not a lot. So don't really have to worry about land units. However, we might as well check the bomber. So if the bomber attacks us, I do believe this one will hurt a lot more. So the bomber versus the carrier is 43 to 47%, so that's actually pretty significant. If the bomber actually gets to attack the carrier, it's on a port, and it has 25% extra defense, thanks to me being Drake. But it still does quite a lot of damage, so it will do 4 HP of damage to the carrier. So that is pretty nasty. If the bomber actually gets within my minimum range, that is a problem. So, of course, the carrier, I do believe it has 8 range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it has 3 to 8. So it's by far it has the longest range in the entire game out of any indirect. It has more range than even a battleship. I think 1 more range than a battleship. No, 2 more actually. Actually, no, 1 more. I don't remember right at the top of my head, but I think it's 1 or 2 more. But I'm just going to go like, okay, well, that bomber can't fly any closer, so I might as well. I join cap here to try and put a little bit of pressure on him. I'm moving my Neotank. I'm confident moving my Neotank into range of his bomber. I actually kind of expected him to shoot down my Neotank here. I don't know if a max bomber one-shots a Neotank. I don't think it does. Again, I really like this damage calculator. It's pretty cool. It will do... That can't be right. Okay, there we go. 117 to 126%. It is factoring in the comm tower, by the way, in case you weren't aware. So it will actually completely one-shot the Neotank. So part of me thought maybe he'll just sack a bomber for a Neotank. I mean, they're the same price, so might as well do it, right? I mean, that would maybe return some investment on this bomber at least. It will at least tie it. So I thought when I did this, I was like, he might just send his bomber forward and kill my Neotank right now. I did wonder if he was actually going to do that. I used my black boat to repair the infantry capping, another thing you can do with black boats, which is incredibly nice. And yeah, the capturing battle continues. I'm moving a lot of infantry up here to try and grab some of these properties. And again, just using my transport copter to move units into the center. He's not really utilizing his transport copter very well right now. But I also build an anti-air. And the reason why I build an anti-air here is because I see the flaw right now. He can move here. And that is within range of my minimum range for the carrier. So I actually need an additional anti-air here. Not only did I need to spend 32,000 on a carrier, but I also have to spend an additional 8,000 to protect the carrier from the one unit the carrier is supposed to be good against. So that's great. I told you this was a stupid match. So yeah, he continues to interrupt my caps. Pretty well done on him. Again, once again, he moves his transport and doesn't put an infantry into. This is the most useless transport I have ever seen. So the max Neotanks roll forward. He takes a shot at my infantry here, doing a good job just interrupting the caps. Not completely interrupting them, and yeah, here he does the absolutely predictable move. He moves in his bomber. So I was kind of annoyed when I saw this. I was just like, yay, what a great investment this is. Wonderful, you know. Honestly, I think carriers should have had 2 minimum range looking at them right now, considering how incredibly expensive they are. It's ridiculous. So yeah, day 10 rolls in. I'm very happy I built the anti-air for sure, or else my carrier would have been dead meat right now. So I move in my anti-air, and here there's also another thing I think he possibly could do. So even though I move in the anti-air right here, let's check the damage calculator. He can actually one-shot the anti-air. So I remember looking at this going, uh-oh, this is not good. So, but still, you know, I have to use my Neotank somehow. He builds a Battlecopter. I think he was very confident he would be able to kill this carrier now. So here I decide to do something. Actually, no. I thought I shielded him from attacking the anti-air, but I didn't. So I interrupt here. I actually don't remember what I did on this turn, even though I played this match literally yesterday. So, but once again, just using the transport, and yeah, here, because I was thinking about this in hindsight afterwards. There is actually, because I remember that he did an attack with this bomber here. So he moves in with his Neotanks, 2 Neotanks to protect against capping infantry. Maybe not the best here. He moves in his Battlecopter, even though it's in range. So I think he was potentially thinking about taking down my aircraft carrier this turn. I don't really know why he did that, but I was very happy about it because I was like, yay, my carrier might actually get to shoot something. Wonderful. And he moves pretty hard into the center here as well. Comes in with his Neotank as well. So he's applying the pressure pretty hard here. Once again, what is he doing with this transport copter? Has this thing transported a single unit? Oh my god, I didn't notice how badly he used his transport. It's literally just moving around. Is this a bot? Okay, actually now he moved his mech into the transport, but he did the stupidest thing, which was he moved the transport first and then he loaded the mech in afterwards. He should have moved the mech like this and put the transport here if he wanted to actually, because you see, this is a perfect example of someone not utilizing their transport correctly. And here, yeah, he moves away with his bomber. So this is a very bad move in my opinion. So there's so much he could have done here. He could have killed my anti-air. He's max with a comm tower. He one-shots the anti-air even on forest. So he could have easily gone in here, just destroyed the anti-air, forcing me to build another one. And I think actually, there's something I actually want to check here. I think even on a base, I get wrecked. So if we take the damage, I love this tool. Can you tell I love this tool? So if we change the terrain to a base, look at this. He still does 86 to 92% damage to my anti-air. and it will shoot back, dealing about 1 HP of damage to him. Of course, it'll be repaired next turn, but it's still pretty good. So yeah, this anti-air is completely worthless. This is he should have used the damage calculator, I guess, because he moves away. He could have also attacked the carrier and dealt 4 HP of damage to it, which, I mean, that's a lot of repairs for me. Maybe not 22,000 worth of bomber, but still a lot of repairs. So he builds another Neo-Tank. Here I'm just like, whoa, my carrier actually get to shoot something. Whoa. You know what? How much damage? I know I love the damage calculator, guys, but how much damage does a carrier actually do to battlecopters? Let's find out. 126 to 135. What about a bomber? 110 to 119. Okay. What about a transport copter? 126 to 135. This is with how much? What about an infantry? 0%. Okay, so that it does calculate the infantry properly. But yeah, pretty much one-shots any air unit, which you'd expect it to do at that price. But I remember being very happy about this. I was like, yay, my aircraft carrier actually got to shoot something. What a stupid match. Get a first strike on his Neo-Tank, which I was very happy about. This guy definitely didn't position his units very well. I move another Neo-Tank. I just decide to keep capping. Like, I don't really care if there's two Neo-Tanks here. You know, I'm just going to keep doing my thing. And here I actually move my, let's see, yeah, because I'm not in range of his Neo-Tank. But once again, using the damage calculator, I'm just curious. If a max Neo-Tank attacks my Neo-Tank on a property, it actually does 50 to 56. That's actually pretty significant. If he has his power popped, it's 57 to 64. And if he has his superpower popped, it's 65 to 71. So yeah, max can definitely hurt you quite a lot, even when you're on properties. So that's definitely something you got to keep in mind. But yeah, I move my black boat back. I don't really know why I supplied my carrier. That was kind of stupid. I should have repaired an infantry. This is such a dumb match. I built a second transport copter because I'm like, might as well. I have so much money. Look at that, 40,000 income each. I mean, high fun matches are a lot of fun, but... So here he actually pops his max force, and he decides to go for it. Max force is pretty scary power, man. +1 movement on all vehicles. In the Advanced vs. 1, it used to give +1 movement to his transports as well, which is kind of funny. He instantly interrupts my cap, takes out my infantry as well, and moves in with more Neo-Tanks. I mean, you're going to see a lot of Neo-Tanks in high funds matches. This is just the way of it. And boom, one-shots my Neo-Tank as well, that was very scary. I remember being pretty scared right now. I was like, okay, this is not really going my way. But he attacks me here, and I think he got a pretty bad luck roll there. Because that was definitely not a good engagement for him. He moves in his bomber. I love seeing the bomber flying like a zigzag. It looks so stupid. It's like, I don't know why that's so funny. And he builds an anti-air for some reason. I don't really know why. I mean, to take down my transports, maybe? Probably to take out the infantry. I don't really know why he built an anti-air. That was kind of weird. But you can see right now, our value is quite different. 160,000 to 197,000. That's pretty scary. Boom, baby. 160,000 to 155,000. I mean, Typhoon is just so strong. I mean, drains fuel too, which is actually a problem for the bomber. He actually he does need some kind of resupplying for this air unit right now. Normally, the fuel drain is not a big deal. The ground units don't really care about it. I mean, Neo-Tank, oh no, 46 fuel left. Who do I care? You know, like, he can just move onto a property and be fine. But this bomber burns 5 fuel per turn, so it's going to run out pretty quickly. The same thing with this transport copter, 31 fuel. I mean, he does need to resupply that at some point. And it also allows me to take a good engagement against his unit on city, which I'm very happy about, even though he has his power pop. This is a little scary, though. There's 3 Neo-Tanks in this area. However, I am starting to cap a lot of his cities, so if he wants to ignore this infantry, he's going to lose the property, and he's also going to lose his HQ next turn if he's not even more careful. So he does need to make a pretty hard choice here. He needs to go after my Neo-Tanks or interrupt my caps. So always, this is why infantry can be so strong, because they can force other expensive units to focus on them when they rather want to attack something else. And that's why they're so incredibly valuable, and why they're one of the best units in the game. So once again, continue to move my Neo-Tanks into the center. I take down one of his regular tanks. Again, this aircraft carrier is making like a perfect no-fly zone around this entire area, preventing his air units from doing any real damage to me. So yeah, I would definitely say, even though the aircraft carrier only has gotten to shoot down a single battlecopter, it has still been kind of useful in a way. It's kind of locking down any air units in this area. I build more Neo-Tanks. I mean, this is high funds in a nutshell, right? It's like Neo-Tank spam, the match, which some people might not like that, but I think it's pretty funny. And look at this, his bomber has 17 fuel left. He actually needs to build an APC or a black boat now, which I think he does. I'm not entirely sure. So So he moved into the Neo tank here. I gotta be a little bit careful here. My HQ is a little exposed, and he does have infantry in the area. So if I'm not careful, he could attempt to go for an HQ cap. So, but yeah, he does build an APC. I think a black boat would have been a better move in this situation, if I'm gonna be honest. I mean, he still has 14,000 left. I guess he wouldn't. I think he'd be able to. If he had dropped the APC and built a black boat instead, he could have repaired 1 HP to the bomber as well. So, yeah, I don't really agree with this APC, but. So he does have. Yeah, he has to spend one of his Neo tanks interrupting my cap. And he uses his transport, although the transport is very low on fuel at this point, so he has to be very careful. He has to resupply it somehow. Also keep in mind, it may not be that obvious, but it also was rain, so his vehicles was greatly slowed down. This is a very underappreciated aspect of Typhoon that a lot of people don't think about. Rain does slow down vehicle movement on forests and plains, and that is very significant on this map. So it does slow down your opponent, not as much as snow, but it's still pretty strong. So here I get a really good shot on his Neo tank with my Neo tank, and I get another really good shot. I just got a lot of good Neo tank engagements right here. My opponent definitely didn't position very wisely. I mean, it's a low tier matchup, like in terms of MMR. So again, I told you guys, and here he also completely forgets that his bomber is within range. Very strange. Imagine if he just built a black boat. He could have blocked this. Actually, no, he couldn't. I could have still attacked him. So I remember seeing this. I'm just going like, okay, what is he doing? He's just sacking his bomber. I think he just wasn't aware. I mean, to be fair, we played this match really quickly, both of us. We were both like actively playing this matchup against each other, so it's easy to make mistakes like that when you play a little bit too quick. That is definitely one of my biggest weaknesses when I play Advanced Wars. So yeah, as you can see right here, I am kind of crushing him right now, 219,000 to 130,000. But here comes a max blast, and let's see if he's able to do something with it. Pretty scary. I mean, one-shotting infantry with an 8 HP Neo tank, that is insane. However, he has to use his Neo tanks to interrupt captures, which is not what he wants to do right now. He does get to take up my anti-air. I'm actually kind of surprised that didn't deal more damage. And here he is actually kind of like threatening my HQ, so I was a little bit scared about that. And just look at this move right here. I mean, this is just max with max blast. And boom, 9 HP of damage to a Neo tank. I mean, that is scary. However, look at me. I almost have my Typhoon ready again. I mean, that's insane. That's absolutely incredible. I mean, this is why Typhoon is so strong in a high tier or high funds matchup. It's because you just get it very often. He combines his Neo tank together, which is a little bit of a weird move. I don't really know why he did that. Maybe to get more fuel, probably. I mean, you do combine fuel and ammo when you do this. So, but yeah, I move in, and I think I might be able to get another Typhoon this turn if I take enough engagements against him, and that's definitely what I plan to do. So I even build a fighter here because one, I want to block this Neo tank. Remember what I said in my fighter video. But two, there's also like battlecopters and stuff, and I do think he's going to try and build some air units at some point. So I think, you know, a fighter can't be that bad. I get my... And boom, I get another Typhoon, reducing his value down to 101,000. At this point, you can really see how much Typhoon cripples in a high funds matchup. I mean, it really is a disgusting power. And at this point, like, he's just gonna crumble. He is more than twice, I have more than twice his value, which is quite insane. And at this point, like, he probably should have just yielded, but he kept fighting for quite a while, so I'm just going to speed through the matchup really quickly, because at this point I have won. I told you this was a stupid matchup. So, and I played pretty badly as well in this matchup. At this point, I wasn't really taking this matchup very seriously anymore. I used my fighter to take down a battlecopter, even though he has an anti-air. That's how serious I was right now. At this point, I was just moving things. I'm even building bombers right now just to BM him. So, yeah, and like, you'll see, I think I even get another Typhoon after this. So at this point, I am basically, I'm okay with sacking a fighter just to get power charge at this point. That's my rationale. I think that's why I sacked the fighter, because it's like, I would rather get another Typhoon and just flush him off the map. I don't really care, because I have so many more units than him at this point that I don't care if I use units. In fact, losing units is just good for me right now, because that Typhoon is just so devastating. So, but yeah, he's building another battlecopter, even though I have a carrier that's just shutting down all air units here. And now I'm actually I've decided I'm just going to go for his HQ right now, which is, I told you on this map, like, HQ rushes are absolutely inevitable. So, I'm just spamming bombers right now, because I'm like, okay, this guy won't resign. I might as well build bombers straight, just to show him how badly he's losing right now. So yeah, and you can see I almost got my Typhoon again, which is just going to be the nail in the coffin. 226,000 to 117,000. I mean, it is rough to play against Drake in a matchup like this. Now, to his credit, he's doing a good job defending his HQ, but look at all the units that are coming his way. And funnily enough, he doesn't have enough anti-air to deal with the bombers, which, when you play as Drake, definitely don't hesitate to build air units against your opponent. They might not see it coming. So, yeah, he's building another anti-air, which is good for him. He probably needs to build a fighter, though, if he could afford it. So, yeah, it's my turn again, and I don't even pop my Typhoon right away. I don't really know why, but now I do. Yeah, I mean, it's so rough, man. It is so incredibly rough. At this point, his anti-air are getting taken out. More Neo-Tanks are rushing for his HQ. And I'll be able to just completely wipe out units. One thing you have to keep in mind, if you see 1 HP units after your Typhoon, you can usually shoot them down with infantry because they are at the very bottom of their health. If they're below 2 HP when the Typhoon pops, that means just a single shot from an infantry, even at 1 HP, can kill them. So something you definitely have to keep in mind. Did he move another Battlecopter in range? No, he definitely did not move another Battlecopter in range. But I have a fighter, which is kind of funny. 3 HP fighter, but it can still block units, so that's kind of interesting. But yeah, no, this is a stupid match. This is the stupidest match I've ever played. I have no words to describe how stupid this matchup is. Carriers and bombers as Drakes. I mean, that's pretty stupid. But yeah, no, day 18 rolls in. At this point, I decide that, you know, I probably could have capped his HQ quite a long while ago. But I just decided to start cleaning up here. In fact, I even have an infantry here that can commence a HQ cap on the next turn. But yeah, I got bombers and medium tanks around the HQ. At this point, there's very little he can do. But you know, I still want to kill units, so I'm moving. I'm winning on both flanks here. There's not a lot he can do. Right now, it's 217,000 to 92,000. But yeah, I'm still like shooting down his units over here just to make sure he's not gonna be able to attempt some kind of HQ cap. I'm still having a lot of units in this vicinity. You always want to play seriously, even when you're close to winning. He pops his max blasts. Doesn't really get to do a whole lot with it. Almost takes out one of my Neo-Tanks, and he gets to take out one of my bombers. But at this point, it's just not enough. I mean, it's just definitely not enough. See, I almost have my Typhoon ready again. You see how disgusting a high funds matchup is? It's so stupid. Like, you can see the penalties kicking in pretty hard right now. Each Typhoon is 100,000 and 800. So it's very expensive at this point, but it doesn't matter because units are just dying left, right, and center. There's so much cash on each side. So yeah, no, I think I'm actually going to get another one. I start capping his HQ right now. I take down his anti-air. And yeah, look at that. Boom, another Typhoon. He's so incredibly screwed right now. And yeah, my bombers are even going in, and now it's pretty much just a cleanup. Again, this guy probably should have yielded 10 turns ago, but, you know, he wanted to keep playing, and that's fine. And yeah, I decided to do a little bit of a flexing move right here. What can I say? At some point, you just kind of have to signal your dominance, you know, like... and he responds in kind. Always funny to see Max players doing this. That's I think he had some fun with this one as well, I hope. And yeah, day 20 rolls in, I capture the HQ. As I said, I mean, I said this multiple times, this is an incredibly dumb match. I'm sorry for uploading it, but I thought maybe some of you would find it entertaining. Yeah, so that was me, building an aircraft carrier and bombers as Drake. Have a nice day.